In 1989, a single mom living in the smallest room of a Rambler in St. Andrew, Jamaica, was compelled by a vision that her circumstances gave her no reason to believe in. Although you couldn't tell by her bright demeanor, her story was marred by many tragic events. But that didn't shake her vision that the generational brokenness that she experienced wasn't to be passed down. So, although it seemed crazy that she left all that she was familiar with in Jamaica to move to the United States with her husband, she did it in order to find the best possible way for her future family. This woman is my mom. And while she was earning her Master's of Arts in teaching and interning with the public school system, she'd come home when we were younger exhausted, yet full of light and enthusiasm to teach my brother and me not only our times tables and how to tell time itself, but how to love. And without her strong sense of purpose, I would not be standing here today. So what we see in stories like this, and this one right here, is that to take action, you must be compelled by purpose. The Austrian psychologist Viktor Frankl once said, "Ever more people today have the means to live, but no meaning to live for." In other words, people have the means to do something, but no solid purpose to do it, no carrot at the end of the proverbial stick. In our current cultural moment, the question that's battered around the most is, what can I do? And this question is a reflection of the can-do, hardworking American grit that we are all familiar with. Social experiment. Your phone probably went off with notifications at the start of this message. Mine probably did. And most of them were probably dedicated to productivity apps. Your app store has over 240 apps dedicated to productivity, to the point where we have blogs telling us how to productively use productivity apps. So no. The question isn't whether we're willing to work hard. The question is, what are we working for? All right. How does this concept play out throughout the span of human history? Is there someone that we can look at that has been shaped by purpose that we can use as an example? Well, in the 1st century AD, there was once a man that was compelled by a vision, but his vision brought chaos instead of peace and order. He was an Israelite by ethnicity, a tent maker by trade, and a Pharisee by robust education, all experiences that shaped his worldview. But that view of the world caused him to think that he was doing something that mattered by stomping out the way of a charismatic yet seemingly heretical rabbi named Jesus of Nazareth. But it wasn't until the risen and exalted Jesus appeared to this man on the way to a city in the ancient Roman world named Damascus that life's true purpose was revealed. This man, who would later be known as Paul, would have that vision compel him to spread God's mission of redemption and reconciliation all across the ancient Mediterranean. This vision caused him to plant many communities of Jesus followers, but one in particular in the revelrous and affluent port city of Corinth, to whom he dedicated not one, but 2 letters. And in the second one to this community, he said this: "For Christ's love compels us, because we are convinced that one died for all, and therefore all died. And he died for all, that those who live should no longer live for themselves, but for him who died for them and was raised again." Let's take a look at that word compel again in verse 14. In other translations, it's rendered seize or control. The reason for that is because the word in the original language this was transcribed was rich in diction and is usually used to describe the laying siege of a city, an aggressive takeover, a newly instituted way of life. So I think what this letter was challenging the original audience and us today that are reading it is this question: what compels you? Because what compels you will control you. What do you desire? Because if it is not God that compels you, the same God that spoke light and order into darkness and chaos, the same God that loved us and commissioned us with purpose before we did a thing, the same God that when we miss the mark doesn't step away but steps even closer, the same God that in Christ embodies reality and shows us the way by emptying himself and sacrificing himself to bring us into a family of love, joy, and peace. If it is not that God that compels you, you will do something that matters, but you will only do something that matters to you. You know, it's been said that you can't have the kingdom without the king, or you can't have God's mission without him either.